Good afternoon. This afternoon we'll be drafting the standard straight sleeve block, and it's a lovely afternoon, sun shining really bright, coming to you from my garden. And we're going to start by having a sheet of paper on your table or your desk, whether it be a plain paper or spot and cross. You start off with a clean, fresh sheet of paper, and then we draw a straight line on our paper, and we're going to measure the length of our sleeves. You've got that diagram previously. Whatever the length of your sleeves is, you draw that line, you put a mark at the top and at the bottom, and then you label it A and B. The next thing we have to do is to square a line out from B outwards, a line from A outwards, the your bicep. So we're going to measure whatever your bicep measurement is. You're going to apply it from A outwards and you put a mark. You also apply it from B outwards and you put a mark, and you're going to call it D there. And then you connect the line from D to C, and you create yourself a rectangle on your paper, which is 2 long sides and 2 short sides. Once you have arrived at your rectangle, we're now going to create our sleeve into that rectangle. So the next thing we have to do is to find our what is called our bicep measure. So we measure from B up towards A, our underarm measure. So whatever the underarm measurements you've got, you're going to measure from B upwards, and you're going to put a mark. From D upwards, you put a mark, and you just label it U for underarm, and then you square a line right across like that. So that is your underarm measure. And it's also the depth of your crown measure, which is that distant there from the top down to the underarm. So once you've got that, we're now going to establish the sleeve head. So before you establish the sleeve head, you're going to divide this rectangle into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So you find the center of it, and you draw a line right through the bottom. And then the next section, you draw a line through there. And at that section, you draw a line through there. So then you are having 4 sections. So once you have arrived at your 4 sections, what you have to do now is that we start to create the sleeve head. So we're going to, this line at the back, we're going to call this section here the back and this section the front. So we're going to measure down from that first section. We're going to measure down there 1 3/4 inches at the back, and we put a mark. And then on the front section here, from this section, we're going to measure down 2 inches, and we're going to put a mark. Once you've got the mark, you've got to now connect a straight line, I've got here, from the top like that, down there and down there, straight line on the front and also on the back, just like that at those points, touching. So you're going to touch from the center to where you've come down 2 inches, and then you're going to come down to your underarm. You do it on the same thing on the back. You're going to go from there down your 1.5 inches, which you've measured, and then from there down to there. So that begins to give you a guideline on how to shape your sleeve head. But before you actually shape the sleeve head, what we have to do on the back section here, this part here, from the center of that line that we've drawn to there, we're going to measure down 1/4 inch, and you can see it where I've these broken lines, and we're going to shape it, broken line, into there. And the center of here, we're going to go up a half an inch, and then we're going to shape that round spot like that to the top here. And then at this section here, halfway between that line and where we come to here, the 2 inches down, we're going to go up a half an inch, and we're going to come round and we're going to touch there. You must touch there. So if you haven't got a steady hand, you have to use your curve to do this, get this shape. And then halfway here, we're going to come down a quarter of an inch. Another half an inch, sorry, because we've done a quarter at the back. Half an inch down. And we come to the underarm measurement again. So with your curve, you got to curve it, or if you've got a very good steady hand, you just curve around the line, and that's the shape of your sleeve head into there. So that's how you arrive at your sleeve head. So you might be thinking, why have you only put a quarter there, or a half inch there, a quarter there, and you've got half inch, half inch? The thing is, it's lower at the front, because if you look at your body, you'll find that you're sloping more in the front area of your armpits than you are at the back. So that's the shape you get when you follow those guidelines. These are just guidelines to help you to shape your sleeve head. So once you've got that, you can mark a line on for your what is called your elbow length, if you've arrived at an elbow length. So it's from the top, the center here, and you measure down whatever your elbow length. If you want that line, it's just a guideline for you if you want to do a 3/4 or an elbow length sleeve, and then you just square a line out across there, and you can put on there E for elbow. So that is basically how you create your head of your sleeve and your elbow length. Now we want to establish the risk, your risk of your sleeve. We don't want it as wide as the block, as the width of your, that we did the rectangle. So we take the measurements from the center, either side of the center. So for example, if your risk is 8 inches, you're going to measure from the center 4 inches out, and that's the mark. You put a mark. You do it the other side, 4 inches out, you put a mark, and then with your ruler you connect a line from that point right up to your underarm, and then you do the same thing on the other side right up to your underarm. So that is your construction in your rectangle shape for your sleeves. So once you've arrived at that, the next stage to do is to trace that out on another sheet of paper, and then you add your seam allowance and your balance mark, so that you check your armhole to make sure it fits in your bodies that you have done previously. The sleeve is always about an inch, maximum 1.25 bigger than your actual bodies. So we have to check that out to make sure it fits, and if it doesn't, we do slight alterations to make sure that our sleeves fit in our body. But it should fit, but in case it doesn't fit, sometimes we have to tweak it. So this is how you arrive at your standard straight sleeve block. So that is stage 1, and the next stage is you add seam allowance. And if you don't want to add the seam allowance, when you do your designs, your pattern, you must remember that you must add seam allowance around your head of your sleeve, down the side of your sleeve, both sides of your sleeve, and at the bottom. So that is how we create our standard sleeve block. So I hope you can follow that, and if you didn't, you can always send me a message and I can explain a bit more to you if you want to. So once we've got these pieces, which we've got the back and the front bodies, and we've got the sleeve, we are now ready to do our styling of a few styles. So next time we meet up, I'll show you how to extend your bodies using your skirt block. Bye.